Hey friend, welcome to Healthy by Heather Brown. Do terms like mental health, intermittent fasting, and buzzy wellness words make you feel overwhelmed? If you don't know where to start with loving the life you already have and letting your good things grow until they become daily habits, I got you, mama. So join me as we unpack what it looks like to live a life well loved and redefine a new approach to health from the inside out. Think of this space as your girlfriend's group text with the occasional dad joke and point of view from my Yankee hubby, Eric. We promise to give you key takeaways that you can implement right away to pursue health in your mind, body, and soul because God made us that way. Don't stress. Let's hop on this Hot Mess Express together. Y'all, I am so stinking amped to have Peyton Baxter on the show today. She, if you're not familiar, well, let me back up a little bit, actually. We met at the LTK conference last year, immediately hit it off, and started planning a time for her to come on the show. Peyton is from Tennessee, and her love for fashion took her to a degree in fashion, and then to share that love through connecting with women through her platform. She is also a businesswoman and podcaster, which we'll get to in a minute. So with all that said, Peyton, welcome to the show.
Yay! Thanks for having me, girlfriend. I'm so excited.
Yes, me too. Peyton, I want to ask you, just because I always think this is an interesting question to hear from people. So obviously most people don't get to meet you in person that are in your community, and they don't get to meet me other than online. So can you tell my followers maybe what was your first impression when you met me?
Oh my gosh. First of all, just comfort and safety, I feel like, because we met at a very crazy environment full of so many beautiful women who, obviously we have so many common interests all together. But I just felt like as soon as I met you, it's like, okay, now I have somebody that we can hang out for the night. It's like my safe space, but also just so fun and bubbly and just true. I think true is real. That's a good word to describe it. And fun, just so fun.
Yeah. You're very, very kind. Well, and I would say the same thing. So I think that especially coming into the LTK conference, for me, it was my first time. And so when I first...
forgot about that.
Very first
It was
time.
only my second.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, there's a sense of a little bit of intimidation, whoa.
And it's a lot going on.
Yes. And everyone is stunning and everyone is dressed to the nines. And it's so cool to be around like-minded women, but also intimidating.
Yeah.
Especially when you go in not knowing many people in real life.
So true.
Yeah. So then when I walked in, it was so crazy. One of the first people that I met was like, oh my gosh, do you know who you remind me of? And I was like, no, who? And they said, you remind me of Peyton Baxter, and the brunette version. And I was like, wait, what? I have never met her in person, and I followed you loosely on Instagram, but never interacted that much. So I was like, okay, well now I'm on a mission to meet this girl.
Oh my gosh. I love that. That is such a compliment.
Oh my gosh.
To me.
Yeah. Well, no, it's a compliment to me. But anyway, she said that, and I was like, okay, I've got to go meet her. But I thought you would just be like, oh, nice to meet you. Okay, we'll take a picture and bye, see you later. But Peyton, y'all, is literally so genuine, salt of the earth, loves the Lord. You can feel it radiating out of her. So just know that any positive things that you see or feel coming through the screen, it literally is the Lord in her. She is incredible. So y'all are in for a treat today on the podcast hearing from her.
You're so sweet. Stop.
No, it's true. So with all that said, Peyton, will you tell a little bit, when did you know that you were becoming, I guess, an influencer? I still hate that term. How did blogging and social media just become a part of your life? What's kind of your backstory on it?
Yeah. So I'll kind of give cliff notes because it's kind of long, but I cheered for the University of Tennessee while I was there back between, 2012, 2016, those years. And that's where I met my now husband, TJ. And he's a software engineer. I was obviously in fashion merchandising, retail consumer space. That was my major, and learning the back end of business admin. And so one of our classes, it was my favorite class I ever took, was trend forecasting. That's the first place that I ever heard about bloggers. And back then that's influencer wasn't a term back then. It was 2013 probably at this time. And I become infatuated with it. I thought it was such a cool new world. It was really intriguing. Still to this day, that's one of my favorite parts about the industry is how intriguing it is. And you're always learning something new from somebody else, and inspiration is just it's still so cool to me and fascinating. So anyways, long story short, kind of got into following a lot of bloggers, some of the OGs that we still like follow to this day. And then TJ, who, back then he was like, I'm going to make you a blog. Like, you could do this. I think that you would enjoy it. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, no, not, not me, not for me. And he made a website, and I like kind of came up with the name. That's where Love and Labels came from. It's still my website to this day. And I got it from a Carrie Bradshaw quote, so we can get into that later. But, so anyways, he made the website. I didn't touch it for 3 years. I didn't put a design or anything on it. I was like, I just can't do this. And so fast forward, we get married, and I had a corporate job at the time, and I really was like craving just like a creative outlet. I think I learned a lot about myself at that time because I got married at a young age. I think I was like 22, about to turn 23, and obviously graduated college. Actually graduated one semester early, so a lot of my friends were still in school. And so I just needed an outlet besides just going to like my 8 to 5 job. And I always just loved I was in merchandising, but it wasn't as fashion forward focused. And so I just was craving that creative outlet, honestly. And that's when I decided, I was like, okay, well, I'll give this blog thing a try. And I was, of course, you're so worried about like what people will think. And, that's always like one of the first questions that people will ask, like when getting started. And I feel like after you take that first leap of faith, it's like, okay, my people are my people. They'll accept me for who I am and kind of just leave the rest alone. And so long story short, launched my blog in October 2016 and then haven't looked back. I did realize like kind of early on you could monetize a website, and obviously Instagram was like growing and becoming more of a thing for like social media influencers or content creators. And so I kind of went that route as it continued to grow and just tried to keep learning. And eventually, I think in 2017, I went full time with it. And I like actually begged TJ. I was like, just give me like 2 months to try to make this happen. This is my dream. I'm like loving it. I would come home from like my corporate jobs and kind of was like slowly transitioning into like part-time corporate and then working like as like a social media manager for other brands, just to try to like make ends meet to eventually make this full time. And so thankfully it worked out. I was like, if it's God's will, it will. And thankfully it did. So that's kind of where I'm at today, and thankfully still trucking along.
That's right.
Still loving it.
I love it. Well, our story is very similar in how we transitioned, because I started blogging. I mean, I've been doing it for 12 years now, which is crazy. Like,
yeah. So you're an OG, girl.
Yes.
You are the OG blogger. Like you have done it since literally the beginning of the industry.
Yeah. No, there was no Instagram, no Pinterest, no anything when I started, which is so wild. But
I'm sure I probably read your blogs. Like I'm telling you, I literally like read everyone's blogs. I still do. Like I still find it so fun to read websites.
I do too. There's just something there that's different than on Instagram, obviously, and it feels like you're getting to. It feels like it takes the veil back a little bit because you're hearing the way that they write. I love it too. So
yes.
So I would love to dig a little bit, Peyton, into the mental health side of being on the public platform. And I know actually when I talked with you initially, you were going to be on my mental health season. And so you're actually ending up being on the relational health season, which I'm excited for. But I'm just curious to hear your hot take on mental health and what it's like being in this industry. And I think that you had even said that it was something that you recently feel like the Lord had been teaching you a lot in. So I'd love to just hear your story in that. Yeah.
That's probably an even longer story, to be honest, but
I'm here for it.
I'll talk your ear off for hours. I am very passionate about that though. Now, even more recently since becoming a mom too, and kind of navigating like the postpartum season as well. But I will say, as far as our industry, and like being kind of living that public life, obviously there are many ups and downs, and there's so many rewards that far outweigh all of the hardships in an industry like this. However, obviously you are living in the public eye. There have been so many times that people will come and expect you to act a certain way or to say a certain thing and kind of put you on a pedestal in a way. And I've always tried to really remember and also pride myself on just staying in my lane, what I believe in, being like humble and also like following again, like what the Lord has laid on my heart versus just what other people want to hear from me, I guess, respectfully saying it that way. And so that's kind of always been a little bit hard in this industry, just trying to navigate that balance of, you know, I am who I am. I respect you for your beliefs, and I hope that you'll respect me as well and what I feel comfortable sharing or whatnot. But also, again, like the comparison game, we're all human. And I think that if you are in this industry, if somebody tells you they have never played the comparison game, they are lying. And it's unfortunate. But again, we're human, and there are so many amazing people on this platform that we all have, like, or many platforms now, continue to grow on. And I look up to so many people, but also, again, being human, obviously, you're going to sometimes compare. And that leads me into, I think, like, obviously trying to stay grounded on the work front of the comparison game. But once I did become a mom, obviously you see so many other parents on platforms like this, how they're navigating like new motherhood versus how I'm navigating motherhood. And, you know, I was part of the 2020 baby boomer Instagram group, I guess you could say, when all the babies, like the little COVID babies, were being born. And so it was sometimes like I would have to check myself a lot and be like, okay, like that is how they parent and that's best for their baby, but this is best for mine. And, you know, trying to check back in on myself. However, that leads me to talk a little bit about like my mental health journey and postpartum. And I honestly didn't realize that I was struggling there until about 2 years after I had my son.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really wild. I think I kind of like had snippets here and there about a year postpartum, but long story short, it was actually like beginning of last year. I think whenever you and I were kind of first chatting and you had the mental health series, and I listened to a lot of those, which were really helpful. And God had honestly been like tugging at my heart for such a long time to be like, you've got to share your story. This is like, I am writing your testimony. And I truly think he did. And I pray it helps even one person out there, because I really didn't know what I was experiencing. But long story short, I went to see my doctor. I talked to him once I finally figured out, like, I'm not normal Peyton right now. I'm not really me. I'm not okay. And of course, at this point in the journey, like my mom had spoken with me about it, my husband, like I had talked to my closest people, and I think they could realize like, this isn't Peyton, you know, like she is very anxious, and I'm usually like such a chill person. You know, I would get very down about things, or it would get to a point of like depression, and I wouldn't want to even work. I wouldn't want to show up on Instagram. The only thing truly, I remember at one point my mom asked me, and then later on, I'll get to this, but I went to therapy, which I'm like the biggest advocate for. And it really, really helped me. But I had been asked twice, like, what makes you happy? Like, what in life makes you happy? And that's such a simple question, but when you sit down and think of it, especially in like a dark time like that, literally the only thing that came to my mind was Britton, my son. Like when I'm with him, everything else, it's like I was almost like numb, and that was like a terrible feeling. So long story short, I finally admitted, I guess, that I wasn't okay, but I had always, again, like cheering at Tennessee and growing up kind of in the public eye of like cheerleading. And then also just kind of the way I was raised. And I'm thankful for this in so many ways, but in some ways I never felt like I could just be like, I'm not okay. Like I actually had cheer coaches, one in particular, tell me multiple times, you're on stage, get it together, put a smile on. And I get that comes with the territory, but I think that was drilled into my brain for so many years of my life. It's like I wasn't allowed to not be okay in a way. And so finally realizing that I wasn't, and getting past that hump, and then seeking help with like my closest family and then some of my very best friends, just like being able to check in. Like I was really good at burying those feelings and again, acting like I was okay and putting the happy face on. And I think you'll probably be able to relate to me, Heather, like as kind of a more positive, upbeat, bubbly person, it's hard to pretend like everything's okay when it's not. Exactly. But it's also hard to admit when you're not okay and everybody expects you to just be smiling all the time, you know? So I think I finally found that balance and got over that hump, went to see my doctor. I did try.
Do you mind if I ask you, because, so I don't know if you know this or not, but I had postpartum depression after my little boy was born, but it was pretty much immediate.
Yeah.
And I always thought like, well, I don't feel like myself, but it'll be fine. I'm fine. But yet I was crying multiple times per day. And so when my doctor was like, how are you feeling? And I was able to say to her, well, I just want to know when I'm going to feel like myself again. That was her red flag of like, okay, something's not right. But for you, since it was so delayed, and I ask you this because I have so many people say to me, like, no one talks about this, or I've never even heard about this until you shared your story. So for you, during those first 2 years, do you almost think it was almost like because you guys were all at home and it was COVID times, do you think that your hormones just didn't like you didn't even realize it was a problem until 2 years later? Or how do you think people could kind of know those warning signs, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And that's something I'm glad you asked, because I think that's something that a lot of people that I've kind of like talked to since starting to share my story, like we all have a lot of that in common. I do think all of COVID and like just basically being pregnant, having a baby, then you don't get, and again, like everybody, there were so many things that people had to miss out on: graduations, weddings, baby showers. Like I didn't even get to have like any visitors in the hospital, which thankfully my husband was allowed to be there. I know some cases that women didn't have their partners there, and I can't imagine. Yeah. So I'm very thankful for that. Again, like trying to see the light in that. But at the same time, there were so many restrictions, and it was just so different than how you would ever expect to have, like, especially your first child.
Right.
So I think, early on, I was like looking back, everything in hindsight is 2020, right? And so I feel like even towards the end of my pregnancy, because Britton was born in June of 2020. So it was like right after it all kind of like started getting really serious. And so backing up to then, I think even at the end of my pregnancy, I almost kind of had some of those like down feelings, like almost, I wouldn't quite call it depressed feelings, but like it was starting to kind of build. And then obviously after, you know, you have your child and it's still COVID for even like, again, 2 years after. And especially right after we had him, we wouldn't really have a ton of visitors. Or if we did, it was like, okay, well, I want to like be careful about who we go around, or should we leave the house? Shouldn't we leave the house? It was just so many like questions on top of being a first time mom and like trying to keep a baby alive.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Fine.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and no sleep. So yeah, I think that that's kind of all when it started, honestly. And then, you know, you have this is like kind of my biggest thing. They do your 6-week postpartum appointment, right? And you have like the questionnaire and they ask you how you're feeling. And I'm like, well, to be honest, it's been 6 weeks and I'm still sleep deprived. I don't know up from down. I'm still trying to learn this. I'm still like in diapers myself,
Right.
you know? So like, I think, yeah, I'm like looking back on it. I'm like, I really think that like the 6-week postpartum appointment is great. I think they need to do a 6-month, and I think they need to do a 1 year. You know what I mean? Like, because I think at different points, and maybe next time around, I might ask for that, you know, like you have to, you know, advocate for yourself in the doctor's office, I think.
So true.
And for whatever needs you may have, it might look different from mine. But I definitely think that opened my eyes big time. And again, like you said, nobody talks about it. So it's like, I really, unless you have somebody maybe really close to you, which I learned everything about like being a new mom from my older sister. However, that's the one difference. Well, one of the differences, I guess, that we had. She has been very open about her fertility journey. So that's a whole different story. But another difference that we had was she didn't have the postpartum depression, anxiety, thankfully. So I really didn't have anybody in my circle that I knew at the time that's ever experienced it. And then a little bit further down the road, I had a couple of people reach out and open up to me, and kind of like I had conversations with some women that opened my eyes, that made me think, like maybe this is not how I'm supposed to be feeling 2 years later.
Yeah.
And let's try to figure this out. And I'm so grateful that I tried some different things. I even tried like medication. That wasn't for me, but I know it helps so many of my friends. So again, I think you just have to try whatever will work best for you and advocate for your body. And ultimately ended up talking to somebody in therapy, and it was great. And it's just like a breath of fresh air. Anytime I talk about it, I'm like, whew, I'm so glad that's over.
Yes,
I think,
yes.
I think that some of those feelings still linger. I had some hormone testing done, which I think was helpful. And so I don't think it's necessarily as like hormonal now, but some of the feelings still come back every now and then. But it's like now knowing, being able to identify those and how to navigate that.
Absolutely. Well, and you even just mentioned something that made me, so I got on medication pretty much immediately. And thankfully I was only on it for a few weeks, but there's now research. My husband and I just did a whole section. He's in the medical field. I don't know if you know that or not. He's a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
And studies have come out saying that exercise is actually 1.5 times as effective as some of the leading medications for depression, but no one talks about that.
Right.
And then also just like the lack of postpartum care that we have as women. We actually had an interview with another lady that does pelvic floor rehabilitation. And she was like, I just wish that every woman was told after having a baby to go ahead and just get pelvic floor rehabilitation, because how many issues could we start working on right away? Right. Also show me you're always postpartum. She was like, your organs don't just like magically pop back in spot. Like as soon as your baby comes out. I'm like,
true.
Right. That makes sense.
I was actually just talking, one of my friends was here this weekend, and she has an 8-month-old, and we were talking about that, and she has the diastasis recti, is that what it's called? Yes. And I've seen so many of our other friends talk about it. And I'm like, that would be genius just to go ahead and have the pelvic floor in place or some sort of lightweight activity in place. I think that's kind of where I lacked too, is like I've always been active my entire life, but then you have this brand new baby and it's like, you don't really necessarily, for me, I wasn't making time for myself to go and even go for a walk, or, you know what I mean? So right. Yeah, I think that definitely is a huge, huge help that I would recommend.
Hey mama, do you feel like you are surviving on chicken nuggets and goldfish and haven't stepped in a gym since college? Or maybe, on the other hand, you feel like you're checking every health box and are still hitting a brick wall? Well, I'm here to help you redefine what it means to be healthy from the inside out. I'm a former fitness instructor and everyday mom who is passionate about helping you create a beautiful life you freaking love. So I'm opening the doors to the Healthy by Heather Brown membership to the public and can't wait to walk alongside you and be your cheerleader. When you join, you'll be added to my exclusive Facebook group. You'll receive my Sunday Reset training that will help you create promising, sustainable, healthy choices from the inside out, which will in turn lead to a more joy-filled life for busy moms. Live coaching and workout classes with yours truly. You asked and I listened. We'll talk about how to balance your whole health when you have kids and life get busy with school and activities. It includes grocery haul ideas and accountability as we all reset together each Sunday. There will be so much offered that you won't find anywhere else on the internet. Are you ready to take one step out of stress, shame, unhealthy boundaries, and fatigue and add healthy rhythms to the Hot Mess Express? When you're ready, I'll see you on the other side of the link in the show notes. I'm excited and ready to hold your hand and meet face to face. Agree. So, Peyton, I am so thankful you're willing to share your story. Thank you so much. And if you guys listen to this and you feel like you might be in that boat, please don't be afraid to reach out to Peyton and I, DM us on Instagram. We'd love to chat. In this season, we're really digging into connection. So our relationship with God, ourselves, and others. So fun questions first. How did you meet and fall in love, and how long have you been together? So you mentioned that you guys met at Tennessee. Did you just meet classes, or how did y'all actually meet?
So we're actually, he's 5 years older than me. He took a victory lap, which he would tell y'all. And I graduated a semester early. But so basically he was going out of like graduating UT whenever I was coming in. So we were like one semester off basically. But so he got recruited to cheer at Tennessee by some of and this is kind of how it works at Tennessee, which is interesting. But he was at like an open gym with some of his buddies, like jumping on the trampoline, just being dudes. And some of the cheerleaders came up to him and was like, "Hey, you should come try out. We're having like an open tryout, yada, yada." And he's like, "No, like that's probably not for me." He played basketball his whole life and baseball. But then he's an engineering major. So the way he told me, and I quote, "Oh, well, there's no girls in my major, so let me go hang out with these girls." I'm like, "Hey, it worked," I guess. But I wasn't actually there at the time. So anyways, and it's so cool because a lot of our now like best friends, it's just like a big UT cheer alum family. And we still see everybody to this day, which is really cool. But he started cheering at Tennessee. And then obviously that was always a dream of mine. And so I needed basically a guy to help me learn how to co-ed stunt. I had always done all girl stunting for like all stars. And so it's a very different technique. And so he was one of the guys that I stunted with before tryouts and actually ended up helping me the most. And then we started dating November of my freshman year. So he was already gone. We actually never cheered together technically, but we stunted at the gym a lot. And it was so funny because I was like, this is weird at first, but can't help feelings, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Peyton just had our anniversary recently. And so I just saw you post photos where they literally are in a stunt in her wedding dress.
I know. I was like, we got to make it happen. My dress was so like poofy at the bottom too and heavy. I have a video somewhere of my sister and our friends, Jake and Landon, like helping me, like helping him get under my dress just to find my feet. It's so funny. But yeah, we have been married now for 7 years as of this year.
Oh, that's so great. So I would love to hear, how have you guys kind of helped each other with both your business endeavors, but then also like, does he help you a lot with your blogging and your career or is he still fully in engineering? I always think it's so interesting to hear a couple stories.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. I love hearing like different dynamics. Wow. So, he definitely helps me. Obviously he built my website to start off with years and years ago. And then obviously like anything on the back end, as far as like software engineer, like coding, backside of things, he'll always help me. Or if, there's a bug somewhere, or even if he's actually really good at coming up with different ideas, like content ideas, or he's like a big, like, TikTok and like Reddit, like he listens to like other podcasts and like gets ideas. And then he's like, you should do this, but like with this spin on it. And he's very creative in that way. And he'll say that he's not creative. I'm like, but I would have never thought of that, So like having that different perspective of, our different industries. But he actually works for Amazon corporate. So he has to go out to Seattle sometimes, to the offices there, but he works remote here in Knoxville. But yeah, he's still full-time software engineer. He actually works on the drone team there, which is pretty cool.
That is cool. Dang.
Yeah. And he loves his job and is very, very passionate about it. Like I would never ask him to quit and like come help me. And honestly, I don't think that would even be our ideal dynamic. My sister Brittany, and then Grace Reed, both help me full time. And so that's like the perfect dynamic for us. And we joke that TJ is our IT guy in office. We're like, okay, IT, we need some help over here. So yes, he helps, but he also still does his own thing as well. And I'm really proud of him and all the promotions he's gotten there. So
that's huge.
He loves it. Yeah.
Oh, congrats to him. So
thank you.
You're very welcome. So you guys have one little boy and he's 3 now. Is that right?
Yes. He turned 3 this year. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So exciting. Yes. So what are some ways that it's TJ, right? That you and TJ find time to connect as busy parents? I'd love to just hear some practical examples for our listeners in marriage.
Yeah. Honestly, that's something I feel like that we've had to work on, if I'm being like completely honest. And I feel like a lot of parents probably do have to do that because we only have Britain and it's only been us 3 for the past 3 years.
Sure.
if we had like another little baby at this point, then we'd probably be splitting our time and like begging for some more time together. But we honestly love spending time so much with Britton and like together with each other with Britton, like all three of us were just like one big or one little, I guess, happy family. So we have to actually prioritize like date nights. Like we recently went on a date night, and thankfully my parents are really great. My parents live here. TJ's live a couple hours away. But we have help on that front, and they're always more than willing to watch him and let us go to dinner, or we're big, like we love the movies. Even now, like in our house, like we'll go out to just like the hot tub at night after Britton's down for bed and just have really conversation. I feel like that's the biggest thing that's hard whenever there is a toddler around, is just trying to have an adult conversation.
Yes, it's not interrupted with 50 billion questions.
Yes, yes.
Look at the bug. Oh my gosh, what color is that bug? How many bugs?
And then you forget where you're at. I'm like, I don't know. Sorry, dude. So yeah, just making it a point to go to dinner even. Like that's one of our favorite things to do, is just like a me and him dinner and have that good conversation back and forth. And then one thing recently that he actually brought up, two things. So he saw a video, and somebody might have seen it before, but I thought it was really, really cool, especially as a parent. It was this woman and her husband talking about like, if we're, basically as a team, you have to be at 100, right? And so sometimes it may not always be 50-50. And so at the end of the day, for example, this is what she gave. She was like, I might walk in and be like, I'm at a 30. And he's like, okay, I got the 70 today, or vice versa. And it's like, you have to kind of be willing to do that. And then if I say, well, I'm at a 20, and he says, well, I'm at a 10, and I'm like, well, we got to figure out how we can like reconnect here to get back to that 100. And I thought that was a really cool way to look at it and kind of keep yourself and your relationship in check. Yeah. And then another thing that he came up with recently, I think a lot of our friends have done this too, but it's like, every so often figure out your threshold on like how often you need a date night. If that's, once a week, if that's twice a month, and then how often do you need to go on like a weekend trip, just you two, if that's like once a quarter, or how often do you need to go like on a week-long trip, or like a bigger vacation, if that's like once every other year, and kind of figure out like what works for your relationship and stick to that. And actually like what has helped us is, and it sounds funny, but like putting stuff on our calendar because I feel like him and I both like kind of live by a calendar. And so if it's on there, then we're much more likely to actually do it, Yes,
absolutely. Yeah. So I do a Sunday reset every week.
I love that.
So all my people are probably so sick of hearing about it. I talk about it all the time.
No,
but
I love it.
Is how Eric and I stay in effective communication, because I'm like, if nothing else, I know we're going to have our Sunday reset talk. I'm going to know what his work schedule is next week. He's going to know what I have going on. We're going to talk about the babysitting or VBS or whatever is happening. Yes. And being like, is this a good week for a date night, or should we book it 2 weeks out so I can go and book the babysitter now? It's just
that's a good idea.
So helpful.
That's a really good idea. I need to start implementing that. That's good.
Yeah, girl. I'll send you my workbook. I got a whole. I'm like,
please.
I love a journal moment.
I love it. I love that.
Okay, so I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know we're quickly running out, but I could talk to you for a really long time. So,
girl, I could talk forever. You got to shut me up.
Same. So, this is one thing that Eric and I are kind of we always like. We struggle in it, and then I feel like we get a little bit better, and then we struggle with it, and then we're always working towards getting better. But what is one way that you try to guard your connection with God and with each other in your marriage? And is that just through going to church, or do you have anything or especially when he's traveling? Like, I feel like that's really hard if either of us travel. I'd love to just hear how you keep it, you, TJ, and God connected all as one.
Right. Yeah. I think, well, obviously going to church every Sunday and taking Britton with us is not like always the easiest thing with a toddler getting out the door. And I will not lie and say that we're on time all the time. And that's more probably a me thing, but it's hard getting everybody out the door on time. But keeping that consistency helps so much, because I will say, even back, like kind of going back to the COVID conversation, and I think that was a huge part of my hormone issues and postpartum, just that whole journey, was during COVID, our church shut down. And of course they did like the online, video, which, we would watch. I just feel like for us personally, we didn't get as much out of it. And the physical actually like going together as a family, like has been like, since we started going back, like once they opened back up, that consistency has just been, it like sets the week off on a good tone. I feel like it's helped us so much in our relationship. And then also, with Britton, like he'll even like bow his little head and pray. And, so it's like I think that is huge. Like, don't ever discredit just like the consistency of going. That has been huge to us. And I think, I never really thought it was as huge as it was until it was taken away, and so that's huge. And then also kind of going back to like the conversation and doing those check-ins with each other. Because especially with my postpartum journey, he was such a good support. And, what can I do? What can I do? And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. Like, we're just there was a point when I would say that. I'm like, I just need you to pray and hold my hand, and sometimes just need a hug. And actually at the end of last year, end of 2022, I like was so, and I remember him and I having this conversation. I was so like, I can't go through a year like this again. And I refused to do it. And we would just pray and pray and pray. And I remember like, it was the wildest thing at the very end in December of 2022, after this one prayer, and I don't even remember what I said. But him and I just had such a peace about like going into the next year. And that's actually been my word for this year, is just peace, like protect that peace, whatever that takes. And it was just like God lifting like the biggest weight off of our shoulders. And just, I guess, upholding each other, in that we're still going to pray to protect that, because it could easily come back. And I think the devil works real hard if he gets one foot in the door. And last year he kind of did for me, in that dark time. And so just protecting that peace and continuing to pray for each other and with each other, and with Britton, that's been huge. But yeah, just finding that connection and making sure to protect that.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, Peyton, do you mind, and I'm going to put you on the spot, and you can say you don't want to, and that's totally fine, but do you mind praying for mamas that are listening to this that maybe are either struggling with postpartum feelings and or feel like they were losing the connection with their husband? Because I know that this is going to be I'm doing a series that's including a lot of marriage and parenting advice. And I know for some women that's very tender, like they're begging for these topics because of, like, my husband doesn't want to go to church, or I feel like I'm struggling in my marriage. Would you mind praying for some of them?
Oh my gosh. Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Thanks, friend.
Dear God, I first of all want to come to you today and just say thank you for Heather and for her team, and for allowing us to have this conversation today and bringing us together so many months ago. She is just such a light to so many and so helpful, and just opening up these really tough conversations. God, I just pray today for anybody who may be feeling any sort of this way that I felt in the past couple of years, or any of those emotions, any of those ups and downs and all arounds, feeling like they might not have somebody to go to, or like they can't speak up and say, hey, I'm not okay. No matter what that looks like, if it's postpartum related, if it's fertility related, if it is with their relationship, or trying to get back to church and get in with you again, God, we all go up and down and fall short every single day. And I'm the first one to admit that. And I have had some very, very dark moments that you have seen, and I'm happy to be on the other side now, but I know that getting to that other side is incredibly difficult. And there's going to be days for some of these listeners who may not think that they could take another day like this, and they just want it to be over. And that's heartbreaking to me, but I've been there, and I see them, and I hear them, and I love them. And I just pray that you will just wrap your mighty arms around them and give them the biggest squeeze, and almost lift that weight for them the same way you did with me, and give them a sense of peace that only you can provide. Because as soon as I felt that at the end of last year, it's like that is the biggest thing that I could have ever prayed for. And I pray that so hard for so many women listening today and so many parents who may be traveling a really rough journey, or those longing to become parents, or those longing to relate back to their parents, or missing a parent, or those who might just be struggling in their marriage, because marriage does go through highs and lows. And there's going to be some days that they may not like their partner. But you know what? We always got to love them and got to lift them up. And I pray that you would just strengthen them as parents, as people, as husband, as wife, as partners. And I pray that you would just bless anyone listening to this today with whatever they need to hear from you. Thank you, God. And we love you. You're the biggest blessing to us all. And we cherish you and your relationship with us. Thank you for your grace and for your love. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Oh my gosh, Peyton, I teared up. Thank you so much for them. So incredible.
Oh, thank you. I'm not a great prayer, but I just talk to him hey, God, I need you today. And sometimes y'all, if you're listening, that's what I would say. And I still do so many times. I'm hey, God, what a day. I just need you. Amen. Show me the way.
Yes, exactly. Well, Peyton, in closing, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you online?
Yeah, definitely. So my website is loveandlabels.com. And then I'm on all the social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Lemon, kind of, at Peyton.Baxter. There's a dot in there. And then we have a podcast called Highlight Reel Pod, where we try to touch on the real. That's right. Instagram versus reality side of things. And we'd love to have you on there too, Heather.
Yes, I would love that. Yeah. I'm anytime you just book me in, I'm coming.
Okay, perfect.
It's so fun. Well, Peyton, this is my final question I ask all the guests on this.
Okay.
And it is, what are some ways that you are consciously resetting and recharging in your life right now? And this can be anything that makes you feel like you.
That's a good question. I feel like the first thing that comes to mind is finding a balance with social media. Ooh, ironically, turning the phone off and being actually present. I feel like last year did teach me that, at least, and how important that is, because obviously your people who are in your home matter more than just everybody else online. So don't be afraid to put the phone down and actually just listen and be very present with the people in front of you. That's something that is huge. And if I am having one of those off days again, it's okay to not show up for everybody else. Just show up for your main people that need you, your husband, your babies, everybody else. And then I would just say getting that connection back deeper with God again, because last year was really rocky for me, and there would be so many moments. And, I never thankfully have lost the faith, but I did have many moments of why? Why is this happening? Why can't you fix me? And, he did fix me. It's just everything in his timing. And so just growing that connection a lot deeper and taking more quiet moments in general.
Oh, what a great reminder. Well, Thank you so much for joining us today, Peyton. I so appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Please go find Peyton online, give her some love, let her know what you learned most from this episode. Maybe screenshot it, share it to your stories. We would love to hear just your feedback on if you've ever shared about PPD or anything that we said today touched you in a way that your followers and your friends could gain from. Please share that. I really appreciate you being here, and make sure you hit that follow button. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.